Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Here's Alday.
What is going on with mods? Welcome back, Highlanders. Welcome to What is going on. Today we're covering a big one. We're going to talk about mods. We're still going to talk about my inner rim initiates, my mid-level players, and my outer rim legends. But we are going to spend a lot of time talking about the newer players, the inner rim initiates, where mods have started to come in the game. So if you're looking for some basic mod tips early, great place for you. If you're more experienced, well then probably stick to the end of the video, where I'll talk about where I think mods will go. So let's open up at what mods are. Well, back when the game started, there were no mods, and every single character was the same speed. So my 7-star Old Ben was the same speed as everybody else's 7-star Old Ben. And that meant that matches, or shall I say mirror matches, were particularly rough. It was like everything was on a coin toss, nobody knew who'd win, and especially when we got to meta teams, it was a disaster. Anyway, mods were brought in to start differentiating, therefore, people's accounts, and shall I say, to make CG some money. A lot of people would gamble on them, a lot of people tried to get the best mods possible, because back when mods were added into the game, they were 100% the most important thing. Because, like I said, there were some 1 or 2 meta teams in there, and you couldn't beat that meta team if your meta team was a few speeds slower on a certain character, or it became a lot more risky. So mods were that first differentiator, and therefore was probably one of the most important things in the game back then. Over time, CG has lessened the importance of mods by bringing in sort of rock, paper, scissors meta, where certain characters will shut down certain other characters, or have specific shoutouts and kits that stop a specific mechanic. That is kind of diminished mods because you're more into this hard counter world. And then also Datacrons have come in, and indeed GLs have come in, but Datacrons have come in as well, and Datacrons are sort of super powered temporary mods, shall we say. But we'll talk about those. We talked about those in another video. So mods were like the first differentiator. They've been in the game a long time, and they are complicated. Anyone coming to this game, I can imagine you will look at mods and think, what on earth are these? How do I know where they go? How do I use them? What on earth do I do? So today we're going to cover like a lot about how to farm them. Let me talk to my inner rim initiates then, people that are new to the game, people that are new to mods. So what's the first thing you learn about mods? Well, you start off with no mods, and mods cost money to upgrade. Now, to level them up. Now, you've got different sets in the game. I should talk about this. So the set is the symbol on the mod, and you get 6 mods per character. By matching the sets up, is it 4 for potency, offense, and speed, and 2 for the others, you will get a boost or a bonus to that entire team. So it is quite good to have mods on your teams, and quite good to have matching set mods. So matching the symbols is a thing. Then each mod has a primary stat, which is like a speed, offense, crit damage, crit avoidance, things like that. And then they will have secondary stats where they will get unlocked over time. We'll talk probably about those maybe in another video, but we'll stick on the primaries at the moment with the matching sets. Now, like I said, mods cost money. They cost money to upgrade them. And therefore, at the start of the game, you should not bother with mods. Just ignore your mods. Mods are something which are competing with you upgrading characters on levels, and the more you upgrade those 1 or 2 teams you're using to clear light side and dark side nodes, well, hopefully you're using an ally, a high-powered ally, so come along to a stream, drop your ally code, people will become your ally, and then you'll be able to use those allies to do the light side, dark side. However, you're not able to use them to do the mod battles. Now, that is something which at the start of the game, you're just going to have to go in yourself with your best team and try and beat that node. As you beat that node, you will get mods in your account. The mods will start off being 1 and 2 star initially, then move to 3 and 4 star, or 3 and 4 dot, sorry, I should say. And eventually they will get to 5 dot. 5 dot's the maximum, and once you've been playing the game for a long time, only 5 dots will matter. There's a small little caveat to that at the start of the game because you literally have nothing when you start. However, I would say that when you start, don't waste money upgrading mods. As tempting as it is to push that button to find out what's next, all you're going to do is you're going to work through the mod battles, and then you're going to collect all your mods from levels 1 to 4, and you're going to sell them. That's going to make you even more money that you can then use to upgrade more of your characters and allow you to progress faster. There is a caveat to that. There is one mod in particular I would keep, and that is a 1 or 2 dot speed arrow. So that's an arrow with a primary of speed. Now, if you manage to get that, I would keep that mod, because that mod is actually very cheap to upgrade. Costs less than 100,000, I think, to grade it, and will give you a 19 speed or a 17 speed gain to your character. So 1 or 2 dot speed arrows, worth keeping. The rest of them, you can scrap them all. You'll replace them in time anyway. Don't waste your money on them. Use them on characters. That's the first tip I'm going to learn. So as you're working through, don't bother simming for mods. Only sim to sell, and don't bother refreshing your mods at the start. Just do them, burn them, do them, burn them. Use it as a sort of an added source of currency. Okay. That kind of covers the sort of starting bit. Then what happens is you're going to start getting some level 5 to 5 dot mods. You're going to get those from marquees actually, and with CG running a more, shall I say, cadenced approach, you're going to end up with a lot more 5 dot mods than maybe traditionally we had. Because every time you do the first level of a marquee, they seem to give you 5-6 extra mods. They tend to be health mods, so they're okay, they're pretty usable, they will make you beefy, and they'll tend to be very good mods. So keep those. Again, I probably wouldn't start upgrading those. I think I would wait until I'd got into that sort of, certainly past level 85, and when I started to see my income in the money in my account start to build up. But that's not going to be for a while. So you're going to sort of have a few mods that maybe aren't great. Maybe you don't sell them immediately, maybe you hang on to a few, and certainly you probably want to mod up your arena team, and you probably want to mod up your best defensive team. So try and keep, what's that going to need you, 30 odd mods. You're going to need 30 mods for each team of 5s at least. So it is a little bit of a judgment call when you start sort of really doing that mod farm, or starting to farm more mods or keep mods or upgrade mods. It really depends on where you are in the game from a monetary point of view. And money, I mean the gold currency. It's very, very hard to get that. You don't want to be spending crystals on it. You're just going to be limited by the start. So, okay, so when you get to GAC, I said you probably want to have your best defensive team and your best offensive team with the modded the best. Now, that's going to be quite a challenge if you have no mods. So hopefully by this time you've started to keep a few mods, you've got a few 5 dot mods, and you're going to want to, how shall we say, the easiest thing to think about mods is take your offensive characters and do them with offensive stats or offensive sets. Take your defensive characters and do them with defensive sets, whilst also keeping speed across them all. So I probably shouldn't say this, or I probably should say this at the start, but speed is mostly king in this game. It was certainly king originally. Turn order, in a turn order based game, speed is overpowered, should we say. So look for anything with a secondary of speed, a primary of speed. Those are the mods you're going to want at the start, and those are the mods that people will be most excited about in your account. People, oh look, what's your speed mods? What's your speed mods? People will ask you, well, what's your fastest mod? People will talk about speed. So try and get speed across both teams, but be wise of which character it matters on. As you move through certain teams, like Jedi Knight Revan, being fast allows you to put the mark on where you want it first. That is also very good before a stealth or something else happens. So in Darth Revan being fast to shut people down with lightning, or Bastila Shan being first to do corrupted battle meditation, all of these things are the key characters to have fast. Other characters are basically quite slow, and therefore you probably want to go more defensive on them. but you'll work that out. It depends on your team. Maybe we'll break down teams in the future. So that's really kind of mods for my Inner Room initiates. A complicated thing. A lot in there. I think it's a lot about farming. How would I break it down? Probably don't worry about mods at the start. Sell them to get money. And then when you start finding your money balancing or starting to build up, start then to build your mods at the same time. That's probably the way to think about it, but don't rush into mods. Don't rush to farm mods, don't rush to uncover mods, and then when you do start unlocking mods, only do them three levels at a time so that you can see what the next stat is. You don't want to level one mod all the way up to 15. If you've got a load still at level 1, you want to check level 3, check level 6 on all of them across the board before you start taking one up, in case one's much faster than the one you're working on. So do that. Okay, I'm now going to talk about mid-rim masters, and this will still be important to my Inner Room initiate. So we're going to talk about bad mods. What's a bad mod? Well, there's certain mods that you really don't want in your account. They aren't really something you would sensibly use, and even having them or leveling them up can be difficult because they end up being stuck in your account, stuck in a character you don't know, and therefore you end up with them sitting around. Now, a bad mod is a speed set arrow that does not have speed. Now, why would you have a speed arrow, which it could have a 30 or a 32 speed if you'd taken it up? Why would you have that? Why would you not have the speed primary on a speed set? It would make no sense. You're never going to have use for it. Why would you put it on a character? Because if you're putting on a speed set, it's because you probably want speed on that character. So that's an example of a bad mod. If you get a speed set without speed, you might as well sell it and get rid of it. Another one is it squares that come in potency tenacity. Might be crosses, but you get potency or tenacity mods, which can have a primary of potency and tenacity. So you want a potency set with a potency primary, a tenacity set with tenacity primary. There is no point in keeping, well, it's okay keeping them, but if you're going to have a potency sets are rare, tenacity sets are rare, having the right primary on them can be massively valuable. So make sure you get a potency match and tenacity match, and maybe keep a few others just at the start, but over time you want to kind of evolve it into them only having that primary. And then we'll talk about triangles and squares. I said at the start, offense, defense mods. What I mean is, an offensive set for me would be offense, crit damage, crit chance, maybe potency, tenacity, and maybe speed. You know, those are probably your offense ones. Your defense ones are going to be things like health, defense, I guess. Yeah. What else? Maybe tenacity. Sorry, I should probably be, but you see what I'm doing there? You kind of break them up into the sets that are offensive based and defensive based. And then what you want to do is break the primaries up into offense and defense. So you don't really want to have an offense with a defense primary. That doesn't work. Or you kind of want to have, kind of want to have health with a health. You don't really want to have health with a defense, crit chance, I don't know. But you know what I mean though, you kind of split them up. Maybe health's a bad example, because health does track across everything, but for example, you don't want a crit chance with a defense, or maybe with a health primary. Not quite as good in the account, so kind of look out for those. They're not necessarily as bad in that category, but look out for those as potentially not being mods you want in your account. But that's only for the triangles and the squares, where you can get those primaries. So try and kind of section them off, best way to do it. And don't be frightened to sell a few mods that you're not happy with or that don't fit into a good thing. Having mods in your account that aren't good, or having mods in your account that don't have the right primaries, can be very, very annoying, because they get stuck on a character, or you put them on a character by mistake, you don't really notice, and actually you're costing your team quite a lot in either primary, or you've got the weird long mod on character, and anyway, you should probably sell it. Other sort of advice for mid-rim masters now. Consider Jabba as a GL. Jabba at the moment comes with Smuggler's Run, and Smuggler's Run is where you get a lot of your mod mats. Now, mod mats are very, very necessary for upgrading the mods. You're going to need them, especially when you get into that higher sort of relic-y level and the ability to move them up into that sort of 6-star mods. Sorry, too many upgrading in the game. But Jabba is a very, very interesting GL to certainly put on your priority list for a mod point of view. Or if you're going after Jabba, think about the benefits it's going to give your mods. Also, Jabba's a very smart character to go for. He has a lot of utility in the game, and he's constantly seemingly to be annoying on defense. So consider Jabba as a next GL or as one to go for early in the game. The other advice I would say is crew members. The number of people who I see who haven't put high level mods and 6-dot mods onto their crew members, and they're struggling in ships because their ships is a few points lower, especially in capital ships. So make sure when you're checking your account, make sure you put your high level mods, if you have some 6-dot mods, sitting around on some of your crew members. Now, there are a few sort of characters or crew members that we don't tend to use very often in GAC. Things like Jedi Consular. You might want to, in that case, give him a mismatch set just to give him 6-dot mods. That is perfectly allowable in mine, but you need to remember that you've done that. Otherwise, you could find in the future, because of a Datacron putting him in, and his mods are all over the place. So have a sort of thought about that. Is that from a mid-rim masters? Yeah, I think the other thing, there are good tools out there. People will talk about your Omega Bot score or your Hot Utils mod gear score. These are sort of math calculations based on where your mods are versus your GP, and they sort of ratio off against each other. These can be a good tool to work with. However, when I talk into my Outer Rim Legends, it maybe isn't something to be so fixated on for a long time, because I think you'll find that modding, certainly now with Datacrons, is moving past. So let me jump over now. I'm going to talk to my late game players, my Outer Rim Masters, Outer Rim Legends, sorry. Just what I was touching on there. Speed is king in this game, 100%, but don't ignore offense. And nowadays, with Datacrons coming in that will boost health percentage, boost tenacity potency, different characters needing hyper potency stats or hyper tenacity to be very, very good in the game, don't ignore the other stats as well. So after you've built up your speed bank, after you've built up a little offense bank, probably worth having some of those strange potencies and tenacities in your account. Even, God forbid, a defense mods for some of the defense characters. So look to broaden some of the people in your account, or broaden the mods in your account. And this is a thing, consider a bi-monthly remodding of your GLs. Maybe the GL teams. Something that I've started to look at, started to do, is that when a new Datacron set comes in, the counters change. And certain GLs will become like paper, because they've suddenly got a counter has got buffed massively, and therefore the modding on that doesn't really work. But in other cases, you have characters where at the moment we have people putting Fulcrum with Rey, you've got people putting Ezra with Rey, you've got people putting Dengar on the Jabba the Hutt team. You have the counters and the metas will change. Now, as they change when the Datacrons come in, you probably want to consider remodding, or certainly looking at the mods on that team. It may well be you need to move from tenacity on a character to more speed, or you want to move to crit avoidance because the certain Datacron come in is giving a lot of crit damage. So these are the sort of things to look at. I would consider a bi-monthly GL remodding, GL team remodding. And I think kind of the other thing I would say is that when you take up a character, an extra character you don't normally use, people like Stormtrooper Han, that sort of character, consider looking for more percentage and such, considering remodding that character. So the other advice I would give is remod based on how you're relicking people. But look, you guys probably know mods better than I do. I'm sure you've got tips, and I'm sure you'll put them down in the comment section. Just what I'm talking about on mods. Where do I see mods in the future? Let's finish on this. Well, I do think that we are moving back into a power creep. CG's launching an awful lot of very overpowered characters, and some ordinary ones, and some very overpowered teams. And we're sort of getting away from some of the older teams getting used. We're sort of obsoleting a lot of characters, shall I say, and obsoleting teams almost in their entirety. I think that's going to carry on. I think power creep is going to keep going up, and in a world of power creep, the modding of old characters and the characters you use becomes much less valuable, and we probably will see more new characters being overpowered. So I think mods will again shrink in their influence on the game. They will still be important, but I think the balance will shift more datacrons and power creep. But anyway, I'd like to hear your advice or what you think where mods will go, but I hope that was okay. We talked about mods. It's an interesting one. Anyway, come along to Welcome to Sandflies on Twitch. Come along, watch live GAC, and I'll see you next week. Look after yourself. Enjoy your SWGOH.